Welcome back to the channel. Today is part 2 of our Caleb Williams analysis, where we're going to go into more of him as an NFL prospect rather than a college quarterback. If you're interested in learning more about the player he is right now and what he's going to bring to USC next season, and if you just want this video to have more context, make sure to check out part 1 that is already out. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it, and let me know what you think of the video in the comments. This whole 2-part project took many days to work on, and I would greatly appreciate the support. So before we get into Caleb's tape, let's do a quick synopsis of what kind of player he is and what he does well. As you can see in the background of this, he's an electric runner and is simply just a difference maker with the ball in his hands. I went into his rushing ability a lot more in part 1, but today we're going to talk about a lot more of the intricate parts of his passing ability. We're going to go over his excellence against pressure, his poise, his ball placement, his ability to go through progressions, and his deep ball. And make sure to remember that he was just a true freshman last year, and he still has years to get better before he heads to the NFL, though, spoiler alert, he's already proficient to elite at just about everything. So first, let's take a quick look at his ability to efficiently escape the pocket and create out of structure. I hate to keep plugging part 1, but I went over it a lot in that video, but just know that even though I'm only showing this one play, he did this again and again, and it was nearly always a success. This is also a good example of his ability to go through progressions effectively, as you can see him read the left side of the field before turning right. He's quickly met with pressure right up the middle though, but rolls out away from it to the right and stays in a good position to make a throw on the run. He buys just enough time for his guy to break open, and he delivers for the touchdown. And again, I want to make it clear that he does this all the time, and it results in a positive play the vast majority of the time. We are going to quickly take one more look at his evasive abilities though on this one, where he's going to be met nearly immediately with pressure, but make evading it look easy as he escapes the pocket. This one does go incomplete, with the ball being a tiny bit too far ahead, but it's a rare mistake for him in this scenario and nearly an amazing throw. Now here's a quick look at his impressive poise under pressure. This is only one example, but he was always cool in the pocket in the face of pressure, even when things got pretty bad. He gets a bad snap here and has to run backwards to recover it, but he picks it up calmly and immediately gets his eyes up to try and salvage this play. With 3 unblocked defenders chasing him down, he gets the ball away to his running back for a solid gain. This is something that he does on the regular, and while we're not going to dwell on it too much, it's an intangible skill and a great indicator of his NFL readiness. Now it's time to talk about his accuracy, his ball placement, and everything in between. We're going to first take a look at his over-the-middle accuracy on this play. He was extremely proficient between the numbers in all 3 of these games, and this is just one example of the skill. He's going to face pressure from the edge and have to duck through a gap as he's making the throw, but delivers it on time with good anticipation to allow the receiver to keep his momentum after the catch for some extra yards. Here's our first look at his elite ability outside the numbers and ability to thread the needle and make big-time throws. Jaden Hazelwood is running a curl route at the top of the screen, and Caleb was looking there the whole way. And with the boundary side safety rotating down and the corner on Hazelwood dropping back in bail technique, it's a pretty safe bet that this is cover 3. The curl route is a good call against the coverage if he can get the ball around the inside flat zone defender, so he puts the ball to Hazelwood's outside shoulder where it barely gets past the outstretched arms of the dropping linebacker and falls right into the arms of Hazelwood. This is a great show from Caleb and a perfect read and perfect throw for this situation. Here's another great ball we'll take a quick look at. He escapes the pocket well here and delivers just right on time, another dime to Hazelwood for a solid gain. Now let's take a look at the kind of big time throws he can make. This looks to be some form of a bench concept on the top of the screen, with the outside receiver Mims running a corner route and the running back to his right running an out route. The purpose of this concept is to create a high-low stretch on the underneath zone defenders, so the read is pretty simple. If they carry Mims up the field, he hits the check down, and if they crash down on the running back, he looks for Mims. The defenders will let Mims by, so Caleb looks to throw to him, but the boundary side safety reacts pretty quickly, and Caleb needs a perfect ball to get this to Mims. He places it just enough outside that Mims can grab it right in front of the diving defender and then take it all the way for the score. I like how this displays his knowledge of concepts as well as his ability to put the ball through a tight window. From the original angle, it really doesn't look like a super pinpoint throw, but from this end zone angle, you can really see how he fits that ball in there just perfectly. Here's our last example of this ball placement segment, again against Texas Tech, but this time in the red zone. Oklahoma is running a play action verticals concept here against Texas Tech's zone, and something about this play action really makes the defense bite, and they overextend towards the line of scrimmage, giving Caleb a possible window on the throw. His slot receiver releases inside into the hole of the zone and calls for the ball here, and Caleb places this perfectly to ensure a non-contested catch. The receiver's initial trajectory was right into the safety, so Caleb has to place this ball high and outside to put it over the linebacker and away from the safety, in a place where only this guy can go up in a very athletic effort to get it. Now we're going to dive into what is arguably Caleb's biggest flaw, or at least biggest thing that he needs to clean up, his tendency to play hero ball. I'm just going to go into one example of this, as it isn't really a glaring issue in his game that happens extremely often, but it does need to be addressed to some extent. Hero ball is a tricky thing to decipher because you have to acknowledge that some of Caleb's biggest plays, primarily when he's running the ball, are products of at least some kind of hero ball. His crazy run against Texas at the beginning of the video, hero ball. His miraculous comeback against Kansas on some absolutely ridiculous plays, definitely hero ball. That's the thing about Caleb, he makes hero ball work at least most of the time. Will it translate to the NFL? I'm not completely sure, but he seems to possess that magic that makes you think he can do anything on the field at any time, in a similar way to how guys like Patrick Mahomes just find a way to move the ball when things go south. But now let's look at this play. Caleb's going to be immediately pressured and nearly brought down in the pocket, but he somehow partially escapes and finds a way to get the ball off regardless. But this is not a throw he should have made though. He throws it right into a completely blanketed receiver, and it's tipped up into the air. Usually you would assume a disaster here, but by some miracle, the football gods did not let this be an interception, and it actually ends up being a catch. The ball bounces perfectly into his tight end's hands, and this goes down as about a 5-yard gain in completion. And it makes you think maybe that's just Caleb Williams. Maybe plays like this are just something he can pull off, and he has this kind of luck on his side. And hey, a positive gain is a positive gain, but I just don't think he should be attempting this throw. But I guess who am I to question magic quarterbacks? Now let's go over his ability to make progressions. Through 1 year starting, Caleb is already excellent at going through his reads and finding the open man. He uses his eyes well to manipulate defenders, stays on his toes when he moves to look through reads, and stays ready to throw at every moment. He rarely makes mistakes trying to force throws and is decisive when he sees an open man. Let's take a quick look at this decisiveness first. Mario Williams, now his teammate at USC, is running a quick curl route at the top of the screen, and he's Caleb's primary read here. While dropping back in the pocket, like one of those plays we looked at earlier, Caleb recognizes the corner playing off coverage and knows this should be open. As soon as he plants and Williams breaks on the route, he delivers the ball perfectly for a solid gain. Now here against Texas Tech, we see a beautiful display of Caleb going through nearly every read, not forcing anything that isn't there, and then seeing his check down and immediately firing with no hesitation. This was the play to make when nothing was there downfield, and I love the speed he processes with to not waste any time and give his guys opportunities to make moves after the catch as well. Our last example of his processing ability lies back in the Texas game, which I again need to stress is his first meaningful snaps of his college career here in one of the biggest rivalries in college football, and down a lot of points trying to make some crazy miraculous comeback. And as you'll see soon though, and like you've seen probably a lot in this video, the pressure never really seems to get to him. This play acts as a accumulation of everything we've talked about so far: his ability to escape the pocket and extend plays, his chemistry with his wideouts, and of course his amazing processor. We're going to watch his eyes first from the end zone angle, and as you can see, he goes through all of his reads and is unable to find anything, so he extends the play with a linebacker chasing him down, flattens his rollout to buy more time, and delivers a dime on the run to Mike Woods, who's breaking back to the ball after the play breaks down to make an incredible sideline catch. This play stands for pretty much everything Caleb does well, but we do have one very important segment of this game that we need to talk about: his deep ball. This will be the first part of the video in my Caleb Williams analysis as a whole, where I'm not predominantly positive. His issues with the deep ball are really the one big issue that I see with his game, and we're going to go over a good amount of plays to discuss the ins and out of it before coming to a conclusion about whether he will be a limited passer or not. I do also want to preface with the fact that it is not horrendous in any way. He can usually get the ball to his receivers, as you'll see, but the placement is often less than ideal. But first, let's start with a solid throw that I don't see too much of a problem with. Marvin Mims is streaking right down the middle of the field here, and against the Tampa 2 they're in, he finds himself wide open with only the end zone in front of him. Caleb recognizes this and will throw this at about the right time, and it'll complete for a relatively uncontested touchdown, but he still should have put the ball more in front of him. Mims is running full speed but has to slow down and turn around to make the catch, which with slightly better coverage could have definitely ended less positively. This is still a good throw and obviously could have been much worse for a number of reasons, but is still definitely something I want him to clean up. And here's one that's less good. Mike Woods wins inside nearly immediately, and Caleb gets this ball off quickly as well. Woods has a ton of separation downfield, and Caleb needs to loft this ball up in front of him so he can run under it for a likely touchdown. However, he does not put enough on it, and Woods has to slow down to get to the ball, allowing the previously beat DB to make up some ground and land a hit on Woods as he's trying to bring the ball in. He does make the catch though, so it doesn't end up causing too much harm, but he doesn't need to be putting his receivers at risk unnecessarily, especially when a great throw would very likely result in a score. Now this might be the worst one for me, and let's finish talking about these apparent arm strength limitations before we look at some more positive examples. Once again, in just about 2.5 seconds, Marvin Mims has already scorched the defense. At the time of the throw, he's breaking on a corner route at the 50-yard line that would ideally have the ball placed high and toward the boundary inside the 30-yard line, leaving him room to turn upfield into the end zone. However, this ball is what some would call a duck, and Mims has to nearly completely stop at the 35-yard line to get his hands on it. This allows the DB, who was at one point about 7 yards behind a full-speed Mims, to contest this catch and lay a nasty hit on him as he's bringing it in. Mims is an excellent receiver though and hauls it in for a big gain, but he never should have even been touched on this play. Plays like this leave Caleb's arm strength in question, but let's look at some more tape to see if he can really stretch the field and if these are just mistakes or if they're actually a real issue in his game. We won't dwell on this play for too long, but it shows that Caleb can place the ball far and outside, and though he does miss here, I would much rather see him overthrow his receivers like this than have throws like we've seen previously. Even though it was just a bit too far, it shows the possibility of him making big time throws in the future. And here's a play I like quite a bit more than some of the previous ones. Caleb's throwing a slot fade here, and he needs to put this ball far and outside in only a place where his guy can go get it to maximize the chances of success. He's going to put it nearly right in stride with Mims here, and I absolutely love this placement. Like, can't understate, this is a perfectly placed ball in my opinion, though it doesn't end up being completed as it looks like the DB is holding one of Mims's arms down at the time of the ball arriving. It is still a great throw and adds a lot of hope into his deep throwing potential. Now let's wrap it up with one last play, one that if you followed college football last year, you probably have seen. Nothing is open initially, so Caleb has to dodge pressure and then step up and make this throw. You can probably guess who this throw is going to, as Marvin Mims is streaking down the field again with a bit of separation this time, but still not a ton. Caleb likes this look though and pushes this ball far downfield to the end zone where Mims makes a miraculous catch for a touchdown. But let's talk about this ball placement over 50 yards down the field. Caleb places this ball perfectly back shoulder to give Mims a chance to make the play, and he does. Obviously, this is a ridiculous catch by Mims, but throws like this certainly erase the notion that Caleb can't make big-time throws down the field. But now let's come to a conclusion on my analysis of Caleb Williams after 1 year of experience. Again, he has not played that much college football. He can get so much better or he could completely fall off, but I think that the former is much more likely. For a 19-year-old quarterback with 1 year of experience, again, he is extremely refined and developed, and that paired with his athleticism point to him being one of the best college quarterbacks this upcoming season and likely a top QB in his draft class. He already has that magic that every franchise-changing quarterback has, and with more development and refinement of his already advanced game, I think he can be something incredibly special. I just cannot understate how big of a fan I am after all this film. He is so much fun to watch. If you can watch tape on him, I would highly recommend it. But like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, as I'm trying to grow to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and each and every one matters. Make sure to suggest more video topics in the comments if you feel so inclined, and know I've got a lot more content on the way in the future, as I've really just gotten started on making videos, and why not get on the wave early? I promise you will not regret subscribing and all that. But let me know what you think of Caleb Williams and his potential. And make sure to watch part 1 if you still haven't yet, as it goes a lot more into his college potential. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.